Back in 2010, I packed my bags, I took a leap of faith and I joined Emirates' cabin crew. I was ready to travel the world, make unforgettable memories and live somewhere new and exciting. I wanted to fully immerse myself in different cultures and of course save some money along the way. In this video, I'm taking you with me to show you what those 4 incredible years were really like. From flying to dream destinations to life in vibrant Dubai and all the amazing places and moments that made this journey so special. So if you're thinking about joining the skies or just curious about life as crew or even life with Emirates, one of the world's most luxurious airlines, then stick around because this one's for you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome on board this Emirates flight EK19 from Dubai to Manchester. We're very happy to have you on board with us today, and your comfort and safety is our highest priority. As we prepare for takeoff, we kindly ask you to stow your carry-on baggage in the overhead compartments or under the seat in front of you. Please ensure that all aisles and exits remain clear at all times. Please fasten your seatbelts, place your seat back upright, fold away your tray table and ensure your window shades are fully open. All mobile phones and electronic devices should now be switched to flight mode or turned off. A safety demonstration will begin shortly. Even if you are a frequent flyer, we ask that you give us your full attention. Thank you for choosing Emirates today, and on behalf of the captain and crew, we wish you a pleasant flight. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me again if you've been here before, and welcome if you are new. My name's Nadine. I usually do travel content related videos. I might be out and about on days out, nice places to visit in the UK, or it could be a holiday that I've vlogged. But today is slightly different. I also used to be cabin crew for Emirates Airlines for 4 years, and I'm going to share a little bit of that story with you today. So if you're interested in maybe starting a career as cabin crew, or if you've just got a passion for aviation, or if you just like to hear a few stories, then stick around because you might enjoy this one. So let's go way back to 2010 because that was when I went to work for Emirates. I was probably just in a bit of a rut, wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, but I did know that I wanted to travel, I wanted some adventure, some excitement, and I'd heard about a few people that had gone to Emirates, were working as cabin crew, living in Dubai, and it all seemed really positive. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to apply. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. I wasn't even 100% sure if it was what I wanted to do, but it was an option and it seemed quite exciting. So I went online, I started researching, and they happened to be doing interviews in Manchester. So I filled out the necessary form online, which I then got invited to Manchester Airport, the interviews were, for what they called a bit of an open day. When I turned up there, everybody was very smart. There was hundreds of people there, to be honest. There was a lot of people, but it was very well organised, I must say that. I still at this point wasn't feeling any pressure because I just thought, you know, I'm just here. Let's just see what it's about. I still wasn't sure if I was going down the right route, but I was there. Let's see. So yeah, it started off with a big group discussion where some Emirates representatives were on stage. They were talking to us about the job role, about Dubai, about flying as crew. There was just a lot of information. And to be honest, they really sold the package. So by the end of that little seminar that they gave us, I was already feeling a little bit, ooh, actually, this sounds really good. I really think I could be interested in this. From that point, we all got split off into different groups, 8 or 9 of us in each group. There was 2 representatives from Emirates that were watching us. They gave us topics. And then as a group of 8 or 9, we would have to discuss that topic. And to be fair, it didn't really have any right or wrong answers. So you didn't really need to worry about saying the right thing or doing the right thing. It was more, I think they wanted to see how you got yourself involved in that scenario, how you put yourself across with a group of people that you've never met before, different personality types. I think they just wanted to see you get involved, and more so than anything, they wanted to see your personality. They wanted to see probably if you were smiling, if you came across as a happy person, what was your persona like? Did you give off a good energy? But yeah, I think solely it was more about personality at this point. It was the very first round, and I think they just wanted to get a feel of us as individuals, as a person, and how we come across initially. So after that first stage, we all then got released into a room next door. We all got sent into a room next door where there was lovely refreshments, tea, coffee, biscuits, snacks, all of that lovely stuff, which was all there for us to enjoy, while the Emirates colleagues all got together in another room and obviously discussed what they'd just seen, heard, witnessed. So after our lovely snacks and our little break and our cups of tea and refreshments, we were brought back into that main room, and that's the bit where we were all given an envelope. It was very nerve-wracking actually, because we knew what was coming. We knew that these envelopes were either a yes or a no for the next stage. So you could open your envelope and it would either say, thank you for being here, but unfortunately, this is the end of the line for you. And it was that brutal, like literally that brutal. So if you got that envelope, then that was it. That was your attempt at being Emirates cabin crew, done and dusted, and you had to leave the building. Bearing in mind that some people have been craving these jobs for many years, it was a big deal for them to get to this stage, and to be told that's it, no, it's all over. Yeah, it was quite sad for a lot of people. There were tears. There were genuine tears. But the good thing was it wasn't a flat out no. It didn't mean no forever. When I was there at that stage back in 2010, you were allowed to reapply 6 months later. I don't know what the deal is now. Obviously, many years have passed. It could be completely different these days. But back then, yeah, they could reapply in 6 months. So that was a good thing. However, the rest of us, we opened our envelopes and it said something along the lines of, thank you for being here. Congratulations, you're through to the next round, which was a massive relief, let me tell you. Because it was funny, the more and more stages that you go through, the more and more, for me personally, the more and more I wanted the job. As I said, when I first went in, I wasn't even sure. I was like, do I even want to do this? I'm not sure. Let's just see what it's about. But each stage I went through gradually a little bit more, I was like, oh, this is sounding even more like what I want to do. I really want this job. So the pressure started to get a little bit more for me for each round, because ultimately I knew actually this is what I wanted to do. I mean, that doesn't mean that you are now cabin crew for Emirates. That was only stage one. That was the first round. So yeah, once you'd had your envelope of doom or your envelope of yay, then you would either have left and gone by now, or you would be going through to the next round. I can't remember exactly what came round after round after round, but there were things like a reach test. You had to be able to reach a certain point height-wise, and that's solely because there is a lot of emergency equipment stowed in the hat racks and in higher places on a flight. So you need to be able to quickly respond and reach these things. They were also giving us more group discussion scenario type situations, and they may have asked one of us to maybe lead that discussion, I guess again to see what your leadership skills were like. And they may have asked you to elaborate a little bit more than we did in the previous discussions. Thankfully for me, I went through each stage and I was still there at 6 o'clock at the end of the day. To my surprise, I couldn't actually believe it. There was probably only about 20 of us at this point. And honestly, my advice to people is be yourself. Don't try and pretend to be someone you're not. Don't force answers. Don't try and second guess what they want you to say. Just go and be. And you know what? If you're right for that role, then it won't pass you by. They'll see that and hopefully it will go in your favour. One thing they do want to know during this whole open day stage, on that first day, they ask you about tattoos. They're not big on tattoos at all. I mean, I do have a tattoo and I did declare it to them. It's on my lower back, like quite low down. You can't see it. But yeah, there were many people there that done really, really well. I thought they were perfect applicants. But then when we got asked about the tattoos and they lifted up the sleeve, a lot of the guys especially, they had like half sleeves or, just random tattoos in places that were quite visible. Obviously you can cover them with uniforms and stuff, but yeah, they're not big on tattoos. So you do have to declare your tattoos and it could be a case of you miss out because of them, sadly. That's the true reality. Again, this was 2010. It may have changed since then. I don't know. Policies change, don't they? But I don't think the UAE as a rule are big fans of tattoos. So yes, after many rounds, after a long day, after the brutality, it was the end of the day and we were all given times and dates for interviews then, for like one-to-one interviews, but they weren't happening on the same day. They were the next day and the day after. The next day I had to go back and I was actually in front of a panel, so it was very daunting and it was an hour-long interview. It was an intense interview, but I got through it because I did get the job and yeah, I did end up moving to Dubai. I hope this is not too boring for you. Sorry, had to grab some water. Too much talking. That was the whole interview process. From there, it did take a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months, probably more towards 3 months, before I actually was packing my suitcases and heading to the airport to go to Dubai. There was a lot to do. You have to go for all sorts of blood tests, dental checks, x-rays, ECGs. There is a lot sort of from a medical perspective that you have to go through before they will even fly you over to Dubai. So you may have been accepted for the job, but there are still lots of stipulations that you need to pass before they will book your flight and have you head over to start training. So yeah, it took about 3 months, but the day came. I flew from Manchester to Dubai, and it was so exciting, but so nerve-wracking, but so well organised. At the end of the flight, I was met at the airport by a representative. I was picked up and taken to my accommodation, which for those of you that are watching that may have been cabin crew, I was in 21st Century Tower, which is no longer cabin crew accommodation. I believe now Emirates have their own little village where there are so many buildings that all the crew all live together now in this sort of community, which I'm not sure I'd like. I kind of like that we were all spread out in different parts of Dubai, because otherwise it could feel a bit claustrophobic, I think. So yeah, I was in 21st Century Tower. I was very lucky because the location for me was amazing. I was in the financial district, slap bang on Sheikh Zayed Road, not far from DIFC, not far from Dubai Mall. I was really lucky. Everyone used to say, oh, if you get 21st Century, you're really lucky. Although it was an older building and it wasn't as flashy and modern as some of the other accommodations, it was location-wise, it was perfect. I was super happy to be put in this accommodation. It was very tall skyscraper building, as a lot of them are. I was on the 41st floor, so super high, had views right across Dubai. Upstairs there was a gymnasium, there was a swimming pool with a little hot tub area. That was on the rooftop, so I think that was the 53rd floor. So yeah, it was all very lovely. I turned up, I was in a 3-bed apartment. I was sharing with a girl from Australia, a girl from Manchester. So yeah, it was a nice little combination of the three of us. And when I walked in, yeah, it was lovely. Great views. You all get your own, even if you are sharing an apartment, you all have your own bedroom and bathroom. Even if it's not an ensuite, you will have, like ours, for example, I have my bedroom, which has a lock on it. And then opposite my bedroom was my bathroom with a lock. Next door was Anna. She had her own bedroom. Opposite was her bathroom. And then Julie was in the other bedroom, which was the biggest room. And she had an ensuite in hers. So yeah, you always get your own bedroom, your own bathroom. So that was great. Everything was really good on arrival. First impressions, very happy. I also went into my bedroom, and Emirates give you a welcome package. So you have a brand new iron board. There was a basket full of goodies and basics that you might need. There was, yeah, a little food hamper. It was really sweet, actually. It was really nice. Brand new duvet, brand new pillows, all of that. Like, literally everything was brand new. Really well organised, and I felt very happy, very content. Also, your building, when you go in, there is a massive big lobby area, reception area, and there are security that work there on the desk 24/7. Visitors have to sign in. When I first arrived, obviously they took all my details. That was a bit of an introduction, so they knew I was starting as crew. They knew who I was. They see my face. So yeah, it all felt very safe, secure, and I felt well looked after to this point. So there was no worries. So yeah, it wasn't long before we started training college. Training college was so much fun, but so intense, because you do things like SEP, which is your safety emergency procedures. There was a good solid few weeks of that. There was a week of service training. There was a couple of weeks of medical training. There was a week of self-defense and learning how to handle difficult situations physically on board. Oh yeah, there was also a few days of image and grooming, which was really good fun. It was just like being in a little salon for a couple of days, where they taught you about the makeup and the hair, what they expected of you, your nails, all your grooming, the men, the haircuts. It was, it was good fun. There was so much in the training. And after each session, there are exams to sit, and you have to hit a certain percentage when you sit these exams. So don't quote me on this. I can't quite remember, but I think it was something like 85% and above was a pass. And then anything below 85%, you would have to, first of all, resit it. If you failed again, then you would have to go back to training college and resit that section of the course, and then you would get the chance to sit the exam again. I think if you failed it again, I think that's where you would then be sent home. That didn't happen to anyone in our ab initio group. We all thankfully passed. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 that had to resit at some point, but none of us had to go back to training. We had really good tutors. The tutors that were teaching us were all cabin crew. They were either still flying and splitting their time between training and flying, or they used to fly and now they were just fully at training college. So they'd been there, done it. They, bought the t-shirt, all of that jazz. But they were all really lovely, really approachable, really friendly, and they were all rooting for us, actually. They wanted us to do well, so that was nice. So yeah, 7 weeks of training college, done all your exams, you've passed with flying colours, and then comes the time for your roster. It's so exciting waiting for your first roster. For the first 2 flights, you'll be what they call supernumerary. So you won't be given a position on board, which means you're not responsible for any of the emergency exits. You'll literally just be sitting as a position. So you're just an extra crew member on board to help out, which is actually really good because, again, it just takes that pressure off you. And it allows you to enjoy the flight, enjoy the experience, get a feel for what it's actually like to be operating as crew. And the best thing about it when you're supernumerary on them first 2 flights, you get to experience the flight deck. You go in the flight deck for takeoff and landing. I mean, that is just the coolest experience ever. Just to see the pilots working. I mean, they're amazing. All them buttons and gadgets that we always see in the flight deck, the intensity and like how switched on the pilots have to be. It's incredible. It's something I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to experience. Like, how lucky am I? Because not everybody gets to do that. Not in today's world, the way the world is now. Like, that would never happen. And it was, even to this day, one of the coolest things I've experienced. So I remember once I got my supernumerary flights out of the way, they were only turnaround flights. They usually are, rather than layovers. I then started my full roster. And my very first shift was airport standby. I couldn't believe it. Airport standby for my first shift. It was already daunting going for your first flight, but to be going on airport standby where you had no idea what that even entailed, you didn't really get it because you'd not done it before. So I just had to pack my bags as if I was going on a layover. I didn't know where I'd be going, so you have to pack for hot weather, cold weather. So I had a full suitcase and my cabin bag, and you basically just sit. It's a 4-hour shift. You sit in the lounge, which is actually really comfortable. There's computers there are TVs and films showing. There are nice comfortable seating in a quiet room if you wanted to get your head down and sleep. So yeah, you can just chill out really, and there'll be a screen up and you will be called out for a flight if needs be. So that could be maybe a cabin crew is sick, or they've not been able to make their flight, or they've missed the flight, or for whatever reason they can't get to the airport and they won't be coming to that flight. So they will pull one of us from airport standby to go and take their position. I turned up for airport standby, got all my documents checked to make sure that I was fit to fly. I had all the necessary paperwork with me, which you have to take on every flight, your licenses, all things like that, your passports. So they'd all been checked, and I was good to be pulled out for any flight. I'd not been sat there that long. I was enjoying myself, having a nice time. And then my name got called. I heard them call my name, or my number rather. You're pretty much known as a number by Emirates, not a name. So yeah, my number was called. At that point, my stomach lurched. I was terrified. I went to the desk and she said, we're pulling you out for Perth, Australia. I was delighted. I mean, I was going to Perth in Australia for my first flight. I'd never been to Australia. It's always been a dream to go to Australia. And here I was on my first flight getting pulled out to go to Perth. I was so excited. I was so nervous, I can't lie. So I headed to the briefing room. She told me where to go. I headed to the briefing room, and that's another nerve-wracking place actually, your briefing room. When you go to your briefing room, it's all set up on a big long table where you all sit around. So you meet your purser, you meet your SFSs, which are your supervisors. The flight crew are in a room just off your room. So you all sit there, you have the introductions, you have to meet everybody, introduce yourself. Then there'd be what they call a safe talk. So they go around you one by one. The purser would ask you a question. It could be anything to do with safety and emergency or medical procedures on board. You would have a file this thick. It's all the stuff that you learn to train in college, and it's in a little red file, which you have to carry with you on every flight. And it's got everything in there on how to deal with every situation that could happen on board. But you need to know this. You need to know this file like the back of your hand. And your safe talk question could be anything out of that file. So your purser will ask individually, each one of you, a question in front of everybody. It was, for me personally, the worst part of flying. I hated it. The pressure of having everyone looking at you. You don't know any of these people. You're about to be asked a question. You could only keep your fingers crossed that you knew the answer because that's a big old book that you need to know the answer to everything. So obviously, yeah, very nerve-wracking. So they'd ask you a question. Hooray, you've got my question right. Brilliant, move along. Ask the next person. You can relax now. Once that's over, you can relax. The only other thing is your seniors then will also check your cabin bag. They will take a look in your cabin bag to make sure you've got all the necessary things like your documents, your passport, your file, the big red file that I've just spoken about. Make sure you've got your in-flight shoes, your in-flight waistcoat for service, because you have to change out with them. Just all the things, the correct stockings, the correct, your hat is correct, everything's clean, tidy, in order. And if they're happy, then they'll tick you off and let you continue with the flight. If you got your safe talk question wrong, by the way, they would give you an opportunity to ask you a second safe talk question. If you got that wrong, you would then be offloaded. you would not be able to do that flight, and they would have to pull somebody else from the airport standby to come and replace you. So that, luckily for me, never happened in my whole 4 years of flying. Thankfully, never happened. I would have been mortified. If you do get pulled out from your safe talk questions and get sent away and you can't operate, you also do get sent back to training college to go over that section of safe talk question that you didn't answer correctly. So you would have to re-educate yourself on that, probably redo an exam, and then you'd be allowed back on roster. Honestly, guys, flying is not just, oh, I've got my wings, let's go. There's a lot to it, and you need to constantly be educating yourself. You need to constantly be reading over your safe talk questions. You need to constantly keep yourself in that knowledge, because every single flight you'll be quizzed on it. And if you don't know that answer, and if you don't know how to deal with that situation, you're offloaded and you're back to training college. So it is quite intense. And every single year, annually, you will have to retake your SCP and all your medical exams again. It's not something that once you've got your license, that's it. You have to redo them every year. So every year there's a chance that you might fail and you might get sent home. So yeah, it's quite stressful. You do need to keep on top of that. It's not something you can just relax about. You do need to keep your mind stimulated and keep your mind educated, because at the end of the day, you are flying. You're 35,000 feet in the air. It's just you, your crew, your flight deck. You're the only people that can look after any situation or scenario on that flight, whether it be medical things that happen to the aircraft whilst you're on board, the people, the passengers, like everything is on you when you're on board. There's nobody else that can help you. You're the only ones responsible that can help fix or resolve problems. That's also why you have all this training. Like we even had, the whole self-defense, learning how to defend yourself physically. You learn how to deliver babies, learn how to deal with deaths on board. On board, you need to be not just a waiter or waitress, a barman, cocktail maker. You also need to be a doctor, a pharmacist, a nurse, a midwife. There is so much to it, honestly. You're very much a team when you're on board. You've got to have each other's back. That's why it's so important to gel and get on. So let's talk about the fun part. The reason we all want to fly and be cabin crew. I wanted so much to just travel and see the world. Like, there is a massive world out there. There's so much to go and explore. And oh boy, do you get to travel with Emirates. You get paid to fly to amazing places. We stayed in stunning hotels. They were always 4-star, 5-star hotels. Beautiful resorts. You get time off when you're there. You get time to go and explore. And the things you don't see, it doesn't matter, because you won't just go there once. You'll go there many times. You get given an allowance to spend money while you're there. So that will look after your meals, like your breakfast, lunch, dinner. You get allowances for that to accommodate that. So that doesn't even have to come out of your own pocket. And depending on who you fly for, allowances can be quite generous. I mean, we used to get our allowances given to us at the hotel when we arrived. We would get them with our keys. We get an envelope with money in. I believe now it gets paid into your wages, so it's a little bit different now. But the fun part was, once you'd landed, you are in Mauritius, for example. You get on your little bus, you're transported to this beautiful resort. And honestly, the resorts we stayed on, they were like those honeymoon resorts where you would go on honeymoon and they'd cost a fortune. But we were going there as well, and we were staying there as crew. And you always have your own room, you never share. So I'd turn up and I'd have this gorgeous, gorgeous room on this gorgeous resort in Mauritius. And I'm like, I'm now on holiday in Mauritius for 3 days. Like, there is no work to do now. My work is done. When I stepped off that flight, like, my job was finished. And I'm now in this gorgeous hotel on this beautiful resort. And now I'm going to spend 3 days on vacation in Mauritius, either do my own thing or join the crew for nice lunches, dinners, days out, excursions. It's entirely up to you. It's up to you what you do now with this time. And that is the best bit about being cabin crew. It does depend on your flight. Some flights you might only have a 24-hour layover. Some are 48, some are 72. I know these days they're probably a lot less, your layovers, because when I was flying, there might have only been 2 flights a week to Mauritius, whereas now there's possibly a flight every day to Mauritius. So therefore, you may only get an overnight there. When we were there, obviously we would get 3 days because there wouldn't be another flight for another 3 days to take us back. So I was very lucky in that respect. But still, even a 1-night layover, it's just amazing. I fly to Milan. I've got a night in Milan now. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got the whole day in Milan. I've got the whole night in Milan. And then I'll fly back tomorrow. But that's okay, because I'm just going to enjoy my day off here in Milan. And then my next day off could be in Paris. My next day could be off in Cape Town. Then I could be in Kuala Lumpur. We flew internationally. We flew everywhere, every corner of the world. And that's the bit I loved. Every single week I was just in different places that I could only ever have dreamt of going to. I've been to many places in Japan. I've been to many places in China. I've been to the Philippines, Malaysia, India. I've been to Indonesia. I've been to Bangladesh. When would I ever go to Bangladesh? Thailand, Vietnam. Then there's, places in Europe, Austria, Germany, Italy, Belgium, France, Czech Republic, Denmark, Greece, Poland. South America. I've been to Argentina, which was incredible. I've been to Brazil. I've seen the Christ the Redeemer statue. I spent so much time in America. I've been to Houston, Texas, Dallas, LA, Chicago, New York, Boston. We used to do a trip. It was Milan, New York. So we'd fly from Dubai to Milan, which was a relatively quick flight. Well, quick in my world, maybe 6-7 hours. Then we'd have an overnight in Milan. Then we would fly Milan to New York. We'd have a couple of nights in New York. Then we'd fly New York back to Milan, have 2 nights in Milan, then Milan back to Dubai. So you were away for about a week. It was like a week's trip. But it was so fun. It was literally one of my highlights, one of the best trips. I've been to so many places, like places I would never have dreamt of going. Even Australia, it's so far and so expensive. I would probably have never got the opportunity, to South Africa, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban. I would never have gone to South Africa. Places in Africa that I would never have gone, like Rwanda. I've had some amazing experiences in these places as well. It's not just like I've been there and sat in a hotel. Like, I think I was horse riding in Rwanda. I remember going along a beach on a horse while staying on this beautiful resort. And it was just, it's those moments that are surreal. Like, you almost want to let everyone at home, look what I'm doing, because it's unbelievable. The things you get to do, the places you go to, the experiences you have, it's remarkable. Honestly, I feel so lucky and so privileged to have been cabin crew with Emirates and flown to the places that I've flown to and had the experiences that I've had, because it was all thanks to that job that I've got this bank of memories that are just incredible. I went hang gliding in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Like, I had a layover there, and a group of us as crew, we booked this as an excursion, and I jumped off a mountainside attached to a kite, and it was the best thing in the world. I had the best time. I had New Year's Eve once in Houston, Texas, and I wasn't looking forward to it, to be honest. But it turned out to be one of the best New Year's Eve I've ever had. We had such brilliant crew, including even the flight deck. We all went out for New Year's Eve. We planned it. We booked with the hotel. They were doing like a dinner and dance evening. So we booked a gorgeous dinner. After that, there was entertainment and a disco. And it was just so much fun. It was a big party atmosphere. And this was a New Year's Eve that I wasn't looking forward to, that I spent with a group of people that 24 hours earlier, I didn't even know them. I'd never met them. Yet we'd operated a flight. We'd gone to the hotel. It was New Year for all of us. We were all away from home. We were all away from Dubai, as well as our families home. So we made the most of what we had, and it was amazing. We all got dressed up. We all got fully involved, invested, enjoyed the evening. And it was like we'd known each other all our lives. It was like we were all out having New Year's Eve with our best friends. It was incredible. And I'll never forget these memories. These are like core memories that they'll just stay with you, and they make my heart warm and fuzzy when I think about them. Like, again, a group of strangers that I shared an experience of a lifetime with, hang gliding off a cliff in Rio de Janeiro. And I shared that experience with a group of strangers, which another core memory, people that I'll never forget. I will never see them again. I spent that one time with them, but I've created a core memory with them, and they'll forever have a little place in my heart and in my mind, and I'll always remember that. Then there was places that you went to where you had just amazing excursions with the crew. I remember being in Senegal in Africa, and we went to learn about the history of slavery. It was really bad there, and just going to the museums there and having a guided tour and learning about that and that culture. Just like, I would never have gone to Senegal in Africa. When would I ever have had that opportunity? How lucky am I that I did, and it didn't cost me a thing to go? Like, these are all mind-blowing experiences, and these are just incredible memories and actually achievements. And I'm so blessed. I feel so lucky that I've experienced all of this. And that's why I encourage anybody that's the younger generation who wants to travel, like, go do it, go be cabin crew, honestly. Just what a wonderful way to see the world. There are so many great things that I remember working for Emirates, and there are so many great things that I miss dearly. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. There are pros and cons to every job. And obviously some of the big cons when you're working for someone like Emirates as crew and you're living in a different country are you do miss key events. You miss the birth of nieces and nephews. You miss family events. You miss Christmas get-togethers and gatherings, birthdays, anniversaries, lots of social events that you can't go to because of work and because you're in a different country, living a different life. Then there's the things like flying is exhausting. You feel like you permanently have jet lag because you could have a flight that is maybe 2 a.m. So you have to be at your flight 3 hours before. So that means you're in work at 11 in the evening, which is probably round about the time your body is ready to go to bed and clock off for several hours. But you don't get that opportunity. And yes, you can try and get your sleep and manage your sleep so that you sleep before your flight. But it's very hard to tell your body at 4 p.m, okay, you should go to bed now and get some rest because you've got to be in work at 11. You just can't always switch off like that. Yes, you get crew rest on board. So there are bunk beds for the crew to go and sleep on, but it's not good rest. The crew rest is like reconditioned, air-conditioned air. So it's very cold in there, very dry, very noisy because of the air conditioning units. And it's not good sleep. And sometimes, again, you just can't sleep. You end up just lying there resting or watching TV because they do have TV monitors in there for you to watch movies and things. The maximum you would get would be about 3.5 hours if it was a super long haul flight. So yeah, there was time to sort of switch off and rest, but as I say, not good rest. When you're in your briefing, your purser will give you a position for that flight. Or actually, when I was there, we could choose our positions. It would be on a seniority level. So whoever was there the longest got first choice, and then it would work its way down the ranks. So once you've been there a while, it was quite nice because you did get to choose the position that you wanted. Positions that, for me, that I often like to pick was galley operator. I always prefer to work the galley because I'm very task focused and I like to have my own little environment, and the galley you could just get stuck in. You could get everything organised. You could run it ship shape. You could make it really efficient and effective for your crew members that were working the cabin. And that was always a nice feeling. I'm so organised that galley operator gave me that opportunity to put my organisational skills into play, which I love. And yeah, I would rather have been in the galley than in the cabins for sure, any day of the week. There were 2-door operators that would also be responsible for duty free. Often they were the ones that were left to last because duty free would just be a whole other task to take on. And whereas that is great on some flights because there is plenty of time to do so, and there is also the opportunity to make extra money because you make commission on duty free, and it could always be bumped up quite nicely. There were some places you would fly with duty free would be huge. You would sell so much that you would make a nice hefty chunk of additional money. But then there were flights that you would operate which were so fast. They were turnaround flights. It could only be 50 minutes each way, and as well as running service, you also had to run duty free, and in that meant counting all your stock in your cart, making sure it was all there. If it wasn't there, if there were discrepancies, you had to deal with it and recount it. You had to go the whole cabin, economy, business class, first class, to make sure everybody got that service. You would have to then close your duty-free cart, make sure that everything balanced. It was just a whole other load of responsibility, which you didn't always have time for, and it could just bring you a lot of stress. So you would often find that duty-free positions, unless it was a long flight or a flight where people wanted to make extra money, they would be the positions that would be left to the ones that were lesser down the seniority level. But that's just the way it was. There would always be a duty-free operator in business class and another one in economy. So there would be one crew in each cabin that would have to take that responsibility. Service on board Emirates flights are very busy. I mean, the flights are usually always full. It wasn't often we would fly with minimal passengers. They were always full. So flights and services were very busy, especially long flights where you would have multiple services, possibly 3. You know, you could have over 300 passengers in economy, 400 passengers on board. So that's a lot to get through. And there would always be issues because people wouldn't get their preferred meal choices. So there was always a lot going on. They were always busy, but once service was done and you've had time then to just chill and eat yourself and catch up with your crew and have your little chats, and that was always a really nice time. That was a time for you to get to make plans, get to know your crew better, decide what you were going to do on your layovers. So that was always, quite exciting. And also get some crew rest if it was a long haul flight. There would always be challenges on board. You know, you could have sick children. There could be unpleasantries to deal with. There could be blocked toilets, there could be medical situations. Crew could fall sick, which mean you would have to then pick up that slack for, missing crew. If you do get sick on board as crew, by the way, you would then do what they call deadhead. You would deadhead to that destination. So you would take a seat in business class, providing there was one, and just be as a passenger for the rest of the flight. And then they would call out a doctor to see you once you got to your destination, to the hotel. The doctor would come out and see you, and procedures would be put in place then for whatever steps needed to be taken. If the doctor said you were fit to fly for the return flight, then that was fine. You could do so. If not, you would also deadhead back. Sometimes you could be rostered to deadhead on a flight. It didn't happen very often, but there were opportunities where you would fly out to pick up a flight with another crew. It could have been for sickness or something like that. So you would turn up to the flight in uniform and check in as you would. But once you were on flight, you could change into your own clothes. You would have a business class seat and you would fly to the destination as a passenger. And then you would just change back into uniform to join the crew for the travel to the hotel. So yeah, they were always quite nice little jobs because you would still get paid for that. You would get paid to fly as a passenger. So you'd have the nice business class experience, the seat, the food, the entertainment. It was always good. The other lovely thing of being cabin crew is you get to experience all the cabins. You get to see what it's like to travel first class. You get to see what it's like to travel in the flight deck. You get to see business class and you get to see economy. And it makes you soon realise that you don't really want to ever travel in economy. But oh yeah, the joys of travelling in business class. And honestly, if you see the first class suites, I mean, it's a suite. It's got closing doors where you've got your entire cabin to yourself. No one can even look in at you. It's just completely private with a beautiful bed, beautiful toiletries, little mini suites with all your drinks, a little basket of goodies, all your treats, your snacks, and an on-demand service. So you just press your call button and you can demand whatever food or drink you want at any time of the day or night. There's no service times like there is in economy or business. You can just eat whenever you choose. But yeah, how the other half live, and usually we don't get to see that or experience it. But yeah, when you crew, you do. You may not get to experience first class, but you get a little experience of business class. If you're flight crew, you do get to experience first class because you can book tickets in them cabins at a very discounted, heavily discounted rate. As crew, you can only book economy. As a senior crew, like pursers, I'm not sure SFSs could, but pursers could book business class as well as economy. Oh, I need to change my battery. So opportunities on board were good with respect to being able to move up the ladder. So of course you would always start off in economy. Normally you can get your upgrade within a year. I was in economy for a year and a half because there was just no openings in the business class cabins. So unfortunately I did get stuck there for about a year and a half, which it was a long time. When you've done a year and a half, you are so ready for your upgrade. I'd had enough of economy. Economy is blooming hard work. Obviously it's the biggest cabin, it's the busiest cabin, and people in economy, yeah, they want everything. You know what it's like when you fly, and of course all the food and drink is free. You want it all. Like them call bells don't stop. But business class, it does mean going back to college. You go back to a couple of weeks retraining for mostly service, actually, because the service is very different in business class compared to economy. So you go back to college, which was fun. You do a couple of weeks of your service training, learning how the business class cabin works, and then you go straight back to flying. So I was super happy to get my upgrade. I loved business class. I loved working in that cabin. Obviously, it's a much smaller cabin. The level of service is elevated a lot. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I enjoyed the service. I enjoyed the fact that I had lesser people to look after, purely because you can implement a better level of service when you've got fewer people. It was just all around a nicer space to work in. The cabins were always lovely and tidy. They were way more comfortable. To be honest, most of the passengers that fly business, they often fly business. So they come on board and all they want to do is sleep. They're just happy to have the flatbed with the duvet, the pillow, and they just want to sleep. But even if the cabin is full, busy, and they're awake, they're not sleeping, it's still a really nice cabin to work in because you will have your galley operator and then you'll have two crew members. So one will work one side and one will work the other side. You have very minimal passengers to look after, which means that you can really give them a nice service. I loved the fact that we took our orders from each passenger, so we knew what everybody wanted. Proper cutlery. We had the coffee machine so we could make nice cappuccinos, nice coffees. It was just all around a much nicer experience. And trust me, when you move up to business class, all you ever do is peep through that economy curtain, shudder, and close it again because you just don't want to go beyond the curtain. Even as a passenger, when I travel, it's devastating that I have to go beyond the curtain. I have to go to economy class and I know exactly what is going on up front. I know how business class is working, even how first class is working, and it truly hurts my heart that I have to go through the curtain to economy. But such is my finances. Yeah, please get your upgrades as quick as you can for your own sanity. I mean, economy's not that bad. To be honest, when you first start flying, you don't know any different. So economy is fine. You just get on with it. You have a ball. It's fun. There's a lot of crew in there, so there's enough of you to share the workload. And I never really come across any lazy bones, to be honest. Most people were really hard working. There's the odd one, but yeah, most people were really good workers, good team. But yeah, after a year in economy, you'll be crying out for that business class upgrade. I stayed in business class for the remainder of my time there. Your contract is 3 years. So I finished my contract and I did extend for another year because I was happy. I was having a great time and I was saving money. I wanted to save a bit more. I wanted to travel a bit more. So I extended for one more year and I could have gone for my upgrade to first class, but I thought, you know what, rather than go back to training and have to do all of that again and resit an exam to go up to first class, I thought, I really like business. I'm happy in business. I enjoy the cabin. I enjoy working in that cabin. And I knew that I was only going to stay for another year. So I just thought, why not just stay where I am? Don't put myself through all that training, through the exams, through learning a new cabin when I'm happy where I am. And I was more than happy to stay there for another year. And at that point, I was quite high seniority level. So I often got to pick my position when I was flying. So I would just always choose galley operator. I loved working the galley and I just fine-tuned it to absolute perfection. There was no need for me to upgrade to first class. It would have been nice to sort of have that experience on my CV and just to learn about first class a bit more, but I was happy. I wasn't going to be flying beyond Emirates, so that didn't really matter. And to be honest, when you're in first class, those cabins are often empty. They often fly empty, but they still need crew to operate the cabin. So there would often be crew scheduled in there, but they'd have no customers. So you would find that they'd always go down to economy to help out. So I felt like if you were first class and you had no customers, you ended up just being economy crew. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay in business. I'm happy here. I like it. So that's what I done. I done a year and a half in economy and the other 2.5 years in business. But guys, by far the best part of being cabin crew, it's just the travel. If you want to travel, do it. That's all I can say. Best memories, the best years of my life were those when I was traveling. I'm so grateful for all the things that I've done, for the places I've been, for the experiences I've had, for the people I've met along the way, for all the memories that I've got, for the photographs that I look back on and make me smile. When I think of that time as cabin crew, for those 4 years, honestly, it makes me feel so warm and so content and so utterly grateful. I feel blessed almost, you know. I feel so much gratitude for that period of my life. So what about Dubai, living in Dubai? How was that? How did you find that? People always ask me this question. I love Dubai. I think Dubai was great. I was not really there for the party life or going out or anything like that. I joined Emirates because I wanted to travel. I wanted to save money. And so for me, Dubai was it was my home, my base for the 4 years. I spent my time there enjoying the shopping malls, enjoying the nice weather. I didn't even really go to the beach that often, to be honest. I was probably paler when I come home after being in Dubai for 4 years than I was when I went because I didn't really go out and sunbathe and all. It's too hot, to be honest. The summer is ridiculous. You can't sunbathe in the summer. It's like 45, nearly 50 degrees. Like, it's insane. The winter, beautiful. The weather is absolutely stunning. From around about late September right the way through to end of March. Perfect time to visit. It's gorgeous. I mean, even April. But those summer months, like end of May, June, July, August, absolutely not. Ugh, too hot. No point going. Can't do anything. It's hideous. Also, always check when Ramadan is on because a lot of things close during Ramadan. So during the day, everything's shut. So if you're on holiday during Ramadan, yeah, it's really not the best time to visit Dubai. And that's only for a month long though. So just avoid the month of Ramadan if you want to visit because I don't feel like you'd get the full experience. It's absolutely pristine. It's beautiful. Aesthetically, it's one of the most loveliest places. Everything is just so well maintained, so well looked after. And that's one of the things I loved about being over there. Everywhere was so well lit up. Like, people are very respectful of their surroundings, of like, if there's a sign that says don't go on the grass, people don't go on the grass. Don't pick the flowers, people are not going to pick them flowers. Like, don't litter, people will not litter. Like, people are, I mean, I guess it's because the law over there is quite strict and we're all aware of that. But because of that, I feel like everywhere is just, yeah, lovely and respected. The shopping is amazing, obviously. There are an abundance of shopping malls, and as I say, they're open till stupid hours, really. Not like here where everywhere closes, you know, at a certain time. Yeah, Dubai it's just 24/7. It's constantly open. Like, you can order food at any time of the day or night, or go to any food chain any time of the day or night, and they're open and they're serving. It's quite bizarre. There's a part of me that loved that though. It was just always a bit buzzy, you know. There was, you never had to think, oh, it's going to be shut now, or I can't go there and do that, because it's just open. Everything's open all the time. There is a lot to do. Like, you've got your desert safaris, there's the beaches, there are theme parks, there are indoor theme parks, outdoor theme parks. There is so much to do if you were going on holiday. I know people think it's just beaches, but there's not. There is more to it than that. And then bear in mind as well, you're only an hour's drive away from Abu Dhabi, so you can also go visit Abu Dhabi. You can do that in a day. You could do that as a day trip. There are lots of mosques and things to go and visit for educational purposes, if that's your thing. I wouldn't say that, I mean, there's obviously not a lot of history there, but yeah, you will find things to do. Open top bus tours, all the usual tourist attractions that you do in any big city or any, you know, any country that you go and visit. All of that is available there and more. I mean, everything that is done there is kind of done to an extreme level. It's always done to like the highest extent. It's almost like Dubai enjoys being the biggest and the best, so they put everything into everything that they do. Every restaurant that gets opened, every new build that gets done, every new accommodation block that's been put up, every new business, everything is done to the utmost best that it could be. It's always going to be really pleasing to the eye. Everywhere you look, it's so lovely. Even down to the palm trees. Every palm tree has beautiful twinkly lights around it. Everywhere you see gardens, it's always well maintained. You don't see rubbish litter everywhere. It's just like aesthetically really beautiful. And it's always very lit up well and sparkly and pretty, if that's your vibe. Hence why so many people on social media go there for their social media content, for their photographs. I can see why, because it is very pretty. One thing to note is taxis. Oh, the amount of times you could just be ripped off by the taxis. If they know that you're not local or you don't live there, they'll take you on the longest route possible to wherever you want to get to, just so they can make a bit more money. And honestly, taxis, if they take you the direct route, they're quite feasible. You can get from A to B reasonably cheap. You've just got to be wary and just kind of know your route so that they're not taking you on a wild goose chase. But you've also got the metro system, which is amazing actually. I love their metro system. They are driverless electric trains, and you just get your little cards that you top up for however much you want to top it up with. You can get your regular cabin, or you can pay a little bit extra and get the first class cabin, which I actually ended up doing because they get very busy and it was always a bit too cramped for my liking. So the first class, it was a little bit more. To be honest, it was still really good price. When you compare them to the prices what you pay for transport in the UK, it was relatively cheap. So I always got the first class card. I would top that up. And it just meant I would always get in the cabin. I would always get a seat. Or if I had to stand, there was plenty of standing space. It wasn't like you were hemmed in. But yeah, the metro system, it was fairly decent. And I could only imagine that it's improved because they were extending it whilst I was there. It was still getting built. So I'm sure now that the routes go to many more places. For me, for what I needed, for where I was going, it went to everywhere I needed to get to. So I did use the metro daily. It was probably my main source of transport. But yeah, taxis are great. They are cheap, relatively cheap, providing you don't get ripped off or taken all around the world. So just have your wits about you, basically. I mean, you can use Ubers now as well, I guess. Ubers weren't really a thing when I was there, but yeah, I'm sure there's an Uber situation happening. And at least that way you know what you're paying. So guys, I feel like I've rambled an awful lot, and I hope that this isn't just one boring, long vlog. Do you know, there's just so much to talk about being crew for Emirates. I just wanted to give you a little insight as to my time there. I honestly have nothing bad to say about it. I had a great time. The company, yeah, some people can say the politics of the company can be a bit annoying. They are quite strict with things, don't get me wrong. It can be a lot. But you know what? I guess that's why they're one of the leading airlines and why they are looked at as one of the best. And they do always look great. When you see the cabin crew for Emirates walking through the airport, they do look incredible. They only get to that level because of the things that they implement, I guess, and the standards that they have. So as long as you're okay with that. For me, I felt like I was well looked after. My accommodation was great. I had transport to and from work. I never had to travel of my own accord. I stayed in beautiful hotels. I traveled the world. And 99% of the time, the crew were amazing. There was that very small percentage where I did have issues with a few senior crew members, some despicable behaviour from a couple of senior crew members. But I guess that happens everywhere, but that's not an excuse. But yeah, you just have to deal with these things as and when they happen. But as a whole, I'm speaking generally, as a whole, my time there was really good, and I can't really say anything bad about it. I've only ever got positive things to talk about when I talk about it. I've always got funny stories to share with like my close friends and family. I learned a lot there about me as a person, about resilience, about other people, about other cultures. It was just an all-round great experience. I wouldn't change it for the world. I am so glad that I went for that interview that day. I am so glad and so grateful that I got the job, and so grateful for the opportunities that I've had whilst being there. The main thing is that I'm truly blessed to have travelled the world and seen the places that I've seen. I've actually got a book somewhere with every single country that I've been to, but I couldn't find it when I was preparing for this video. If I ever do find it, I will update you on it. But it's insane when you see the amount of places I've been to. It's like, wow, you know, like how lucky am I? And I always say it, you know, if I go to my grave, I'm never going to go with any regrets and feelings of, oh, I've missed out on life and I haven't done anything with my life and I should have done this and I should have done that, because I feel like I've done so much. I feel abundant with memories and core experiences that will just stay with me forever, and things that I can share with other people and relive that experience with them and enjoy it all over again. Yeah, I'm truly grateful, truly blessed, and truly thankful to Emirates for that opportunity. And I do encourage anybody to go for it. If it's on your agenda, if it's in your life plan, like not just Emirates, but there are plenty of airlines to fly for. If you want to travel and be cabin crew and experience all of that, for me, it's a big thumbs up. Go do it. I don't think you'll have any regrets. Yeah, go live your life, go have fun, go experience it. You can always come back. If it wasn't for you, if you didn't enjoy it, you've tried it, you can always come back. But I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. So yeah, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for listening to me droning on for God knows how long this video is. I don't know. I've changed my battery over once because it run down, and this one is now on 20%. So I've obviously been talking a long time. I need a drink. My mouth is so dry from talking so much, and I'm starving. My stomach's probably been rumbling throughout because I kept hearing it. I do hope that's not picked up. I'm sure it has because I've got my mic on and it's right there by my tummy, so you've probably heard it all. Apologies for that if you have. Yeah, I'm now going to go make some food and go for a long walk because I've been sat down for a long time. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this little insight into my world as cabin crew for Emirates was enjoyable or interesting or filled some intrigue. I don't know, but just thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. So yes, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd be truly grateful, and give me a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video. It all helps, you know, that whole algorithm thing. I don't know how that works, I've no idea, but apparently give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, even if it's just a heart emoji, and subscribe. It's all going to help my channel, and for that, I'll be eternally grateful. If you do subscribe, click that notification bell. Don't forget that as well. So God, I'm asking a lot, aren't I? Anyway, I'm going to go. I've been rambling way too long, as I keep saying. So I'll see you next Sunday, guys. Sunday, 4 p.m. on my uploads. I'll see you all then. Have a great week. Love you lots. Bye.